Watch your mouth.
Why? I'll just put a quarter in the swear jar. Once it's filled, we get a Coors party after work.
I've been drinking Coors since my college days.
Okay, there we go, folks. Welcome everybody here to the X-Bomb Sports Live Show. Sorry about that. My name is Age Valentin. I hope everybody out there is having a wonderful, magical Monday. Apologies for the late. We kind of just had a little. It's been a rough Monday. How about that? Let's go with that. As you can tell, sorry. It wouldn't be us if we didn't have a few hiccups and we weren't starting late, right, folks? So, as always, we appreciate you guys. Thank you all for joining in. Again, I'm up here by my lonesome still, but fret not, mon frères. We're still joined by the wonderful Antonia Vincente helping us in the back. Thank you as always, Antonia. Appreciate it. Yes, if things flutter, don't take it don't take it out on her personally, folks. It happens to all of us. And it's okay. It's all right. So, but folks, obviously, we've got a lot to talk about today. We got the NBA playoffs, MLB, plus we're going to answer more of your questions. So if you have anything you want to ask us at all, but if you want to follow our show, obviously we're on YouTube at youtube.com/xbombsports. We're also at Twitch as well at twitch.tv/xbombsports. Also, if you want to follow the show any more on social media, you can follow us at Twitter and Instagram at XBomb Sports. We are on both same. It's at XBomb Sports for both of them. And if you have any questions or comments that you don't want to send on the social media, you can always send it to us at xbsportsofficial@gmail.com. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into this. So, as we've all kind of come to know, the NBA playoffs are currently happening at this moment in time. And obviously, if you have not been paying attention, it has been a barn burner for the most part, folks. I mean, it has been, from my perspective, it's been a pretty tremendously, exciting and enthralling playoff series through each of these games right now, right? In the semifinals here, the biggest one that's kind of become a bit of a turn on this has been the Pacers versus the Knicks. This is an old rivalry that has been coming down to it, and obviously if you didn't see last night's game or afternoon's game, whatever it was, Indiana absolutely blowing out the Knicks 121-98, or 89, I should say, not even 98, 89. Just an incredible look for the Pacers, right, in this game. Obviously for the Knicks, this was a huge heartbreak for them, right? This was huge. They shot under 40%, tragically. I mean, I think they were only at like 31% or something like that for the night. They could not hit a shot from three-point to save their lives. They played terrible. This was probably the worst this team has looked in a long time. I mean, they've been fairly consistent, I would have to say. They've been fairly consistent over time as a basketball team. But ultimately, watching the Pacers, the difference seems to be that the Knicks rely a lot on Jalen Brunson and his star player power, if you will, to kind of take them over the top. And obviously that's still a debate as to whether or not he is a star player, right? I mean, he is a good player. I think he's a fantastic player. I think there's a lot of debate, though, if he is a star player. I would argue he is, but obviously there's a lot of people that look at these kind of games and go, see, he's not as good as we thought he was. And I kind of I'm taking it back on that, because if it weren't for Jalen Brunson, the Knicks would not be where they are. This team would not be as good as what we have seen. And it's important to note that without him, they're kind of dead in the water. Not to say they don't have good players. They do. Dante DiVincenzo, OG Anunoby. They've got a lot of good players that can come off the bench and do some good work too. But it's not the same thing without him running the point and being kind of their main scoring factor, right? That's the reason why Jalen Brunson makes the difference for the Knicks. Now, for the Pacers, you have a team that collectively they're talented, right? You know Tyrese Halliburton's their star. You know their secondary guy is Pascal Siakam. But Siakam doesn't need to be that 25-8 guy that he was in Toronto. He can kind of settle down, be more of an even keel guy, work his way in the post when he has to. but it's really Tyrese Halliburton's show. He runs it, and everybody else just works well with him. You could see they go 7, 8, 9 guys deep on that team, right? The Pacers are a collective unit that is extremely talented. So it doesn't go without warrant to say that I think in this game, what makes the difference is it's star power on one side, which the Knicks have always been about. Get the big names, get those guys, get the ones that can make the difference in the game, versus a Pacers team that have, I think, always collectively been about let's get the unit together. Not just get the guy. It's good to have that guy, but then get the players around him that can obviously funnel in well with him, have a good connection with him, good chemistry, right? Have good culture. Pacers look like they could be a team that's coming for the upset potentially, which obviously the Knicks were already kind of considered an underdog beforehand when they were playing the 76ers. But what makes this interesting is that the Pacers were not supposed to be this good right off the bat. They beat the Bucks. Now they have tied series 2-2 with the Knicks. It's an impressive look. For the Pacers, this is exactly where they want to be for their time being. But outside of the Knicks and the Pacers, there's still another interesting matchup we're looking at right now too, right? Because as much as we want to believe the Minnesota Timberwolves have been a really good unit, and they are, and Anthony Edwards is one of the top players in the league now. I fully believe he has come into his own as one of the top players in the NBA. If not, he is maybe like I'm putting him in the top 5 talk right now, I would say. Right? You may, depending on what happens here and what he does, you might even be able to put him in the top 3. I know that's like, oh, you're really going to go that far? Yeah, well, look, the guy is a star. The guy is show. The guy puts everything out there, right? Now, is he Michael Jordan? No. But is he Dwayne Wade? Absolutely. And Dwayne Wade was a guy who could put on a show. He's a guy that's perfect on camera. He's a guy that trash talked. He could play well. He could do so many different things. And it's tremendous to watch this guy work. But Anthony Edwards, playing against the Nuggets, Denver comes up big. I mean, they came out strong, right? And this is the reason why they're champions. Right? And they had different guys that stepped up at the right times, right? You see it. You see these guys that come out of the woodwork. I mean, Aaron Gordon's not a guy that really comes out of the woodwork. He was a top 5 pick by the Orlando Magic years ago, but this guy ends up having, what was it, like 24 and 10, I think, or something like that at one point. Like, the guy just went on a tear. He absolutely took over the game, and it was kind of like, okay, Jokic doesn't really need to do the work. Murray can work from the outside. We don't have to really worry about all these little things. We can let one guy kind of come in. By the way, Jokic still comes out of it with 35, 7, and 7 on the night. He still has a dominant performance, but Aaron Gordon, for a while there, he was kind of picking up the slack. I mean, this is another unit. This is another team that collectively everybody matches up well with each other. Everybody together works and does their part. Everybody has their thing that they just click right with and they just do well. And that's what gives Denver the edge. And not only that, but now they've got championship experience, right? You've got a veteran now and a guy like Jokic and Murray who have been there and done that. Gordon, who has really kind of made himself a prolific defender as well as a good scorer on the inside. You've got guys like Braun and what's his name? Holiday. Yeah, Justin Holiday, who come off the bench and are able to add double digits. And everybody else just does their job. And that's always been the big thing that a lot of people have always stressed is that if you get guys that can just do their job as everybody else that's the star is able to make those big moments count and make them happen, you can win games. And that's the biggest thing I see right now with Denver. Denver has a plethora of athletes that they know they can work with, and everybody doesn't need to be the biggest scorer in the world. They know where their guys are that are going to put up points. They just need the rest of them to be able to shut the other team down. And the Nuggets, for the longest time in this game, they were pressing hard on Minnesota. They held them to 24 points in the first and then 25 in the second. Well, they scored 35 in the second. Now, Minnesota eventually in the second half started to put points on, but Denver was just rolling. They were just going. And at the end of the day, Minnesota, unfortunately, they go through one guy. Everybody got double digits that were starters for Minnesota, but let's be fair here. Anthony Edwards makes this thing work, but everybody else around him still needs to be able to do their own job. And you got Karl Anthony Towns, who only has 13 points. He gets the rebounds, but he's not getting any block shots on this one. Gobert does his job, rebounds, points inside, and gets a shot block. But you need more from those guys when you can. You need to ask a little bit more of them. They need to give a little bit more. Because unfortunately, if they're not providing on their level, yeah, it's a tough sell for me. Like, it's not to say Minnesota can't go on to the Western Conference Finals, but this is the reigning champion Denver Nuggets. This is a coach and a team with a star and their secondary star that have all been there, done that. Minnesota's just finally getting a taste of what they haven't had in years. And by the way, this is a franchise that is still trying to figure out who owns this team. Like, they have other people who are trying to buy the ownership of this team, and there's nobody answering the question of, well, who does own it? I don't know. Is that really affecting the team? Probably not. But it could in the long haul when you think about it. You don't know when you don't know who your boss is at your job, that can really affect the workplace, right? I think, I'm not saying we've all been there, but I think most of us have been in that position where it's like, all right, if nobody's in control, how are we getting stuff done? Like, yeah, you can just go out and do your job, but at some point there's going to be issues that arise. And that's the worry I have for the Timberwolves. This is a great run. This is a great opportunity for them. This is a future-building moment for this franchise. But if you don't have somebody who can say definitively, this is your owner, this is your boss, this is how we're going to structure things out, where are we at then? I'm interested to see how this series plays out because I think the Nuggets will still take it. But I'm intrigued to see how Minnesota responds after this game because Denver thoroughly smacked them in the face and said, what are you going to do about it? So now we got to see if Minnesota can respond or not. But outside of those two games, we got two more for the night. These are the game fours that are really going to be interesting to watch. By my account, at least, there's still interest in these games. The first one's going to be it's Celtics versus Cavaliers, right? So, Cleveland Cavaliers, they were able to come in and they were able to do some work in Game 2. Obviously, I think kind of surprised the Celtics with how good they could actually be. We saw the capabilities of what Donovan Mitchell can be at his finest. But I think there's a lot of questions as far as, well, is the surrounding team, his cast of characters, do they have enough to be able to compete with the likes of the rest of the unit, right? That is the Boston Celtics. That group, that team in Boston is the best for a reason. And you saw it in Game 3, right? Jason Tatum went off and said, this is why I believe that guy is a top 10 star in the NBA. I do believe Jason Tatum is one of those guys. Can he deliver? That's the question. He's made it to the finals. He's been the top scorer on the team. He's certainly, I think, one of the best franchise players out there in the NBA right now. It's can he deliver a championship? Can he also do it with Jaylen Brown? Can Jaylen Brown be a part of that system that gets them to a title? That's the question they have to answer. And Boston's done a great job of saying we're going to supplement some of the guys that are injured with some of the guys we have right now to be able to fluctuate how we can attack this team. Because Cleveland's not going to go down easy. They're not going to go down easy. But Cleveland, to me, feels like they don't have enough. The Cavaliers have a good team. They don't have a great team. They have one great player and a bunch of decent to good guys that are out there as starters. And then they have a bunch of other guys that come off the bench that you kind of go, take it or leave it, right? You can take it or leave it. So I'm interested listen, Boston to me is the stronger team, obviously. That's how I see it. But let's not discount Cleveland. Like, they are, I think, a handful of players away, but they're going to have to do some restructuring themselves. Is this Darius Garland thing working? Is Evan Mobley the future big man that they want to carry, or is Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, is that going to be too much down low? They got a lot of dudes that have size on that team, but how many of them do you need, and where else do you need to feed into? Well, you could use some three-point shooting. You could also use some depth at that guard position as well, right? And Donovan Mitchell wants to also make sure that he's going to be in a place where he can try and win a championship. So there's no guarantee that he's even going to stay at Cleveland. He could go to the free agent market if he decides to. Now, I don't think he will, but it is an option that's going to be out there nevertheless. And you have to consider, well, if he leaves, then where are we at right then? Because I like Evan Mobley very much. I think he's a very good player. But I have not gotten to the point yet to say that he is a star, that he is going to be a guy that can carry you long-term into a championship run. I just don't see that from him. Now, he progresses, he coaches, he gets good coaching, he continues to work, gains a little bit more weight. Yeah, I think he can maybe be more effective for sure. But nothing right now to this degree would tell me that Evan Mobley is going to make that big of a difference for the Cavaliers at this point in time, other than just being a bigger body that's young, flexible, can get rebounds and score inside. He's not really a shot blocker. Defense is not really his MO. He can play it. It's just what seems like he chooses to do so or not. That's the big question. So, do you want Jared Allen, who's more of a defensive-minded guy that can score and be big and powerful inside? Or do you want Mobley, who's more of your slender big man that can kind of score at will if he needs to and has a jump shot that can at least work to some degree on a small range and can at least get you points and still give you rebounds but won't give you the defense down low necessarily that you get from Jared Allen? These are the conversations that Cleveland needs to have. Boston, meanwhile, just needs to figure out, well, how are we just going to supplement Kristaps Porzingis? That's the only thing they have to worry about. Drew Holiday runs the perimeter point well on defense and offense. You've got Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum who can work inside, outside as the scoring guys. They're the two stars, and everybody else just kind of fluctuates in and out. They run 7 to 8 guys deep anyways. They're fine. I think Boston's just fine. Will they win a championship? We'll see. We'll see. They haven't changed too much, but guys are gaining experience, and that's the biggest thing right now with this team. They want guys that are going to be able to play to that level, that are going to have the experience to be able to do those things. So it's important. It's key. I'm intrigued to see where they're going to be at in here in the near future for sure. Outside of the Cavaliers and the Celtics, though, for Game 4, I'll be honest. I mean, for me, I'll say this at least. I think the Celtics are going to take Game 4. I think they're going to win this thing in 5. That's where I'm at. I've got the Celtics going in 5. But outside of that game, there's another intriguing game on the line, right? Thunder against the Mavericks. I like this matchup because it is the young guns of the Thunder against the Mavericks. Dallas, to me, has... As we now know, Jokic won the MVP. I thought they had the runner-up MVP in Luka Doncic. Or Doncic. He's a fantastic player. He is, right now, I would say, the second best player in the league behind Jokic, if you will, right? I mean, he's in that top 3. He's in that top 5 conversation. He is a difference maker through and through. There's a reason the Mavericks said, okay, Atlanta, let's make a swap. You want your guy, go get your guy. We want our guy. Perfect move. I think Luka can take this team all the way to a championship. And yes, that's with Kyrie Irving, a guy who I have diligently been against because of all of his stances off the court, because of how he's acted off the court, because of how he's even acted on the court. But this is a situation where it's like, okay, you don't have to be the star. You are a star in your own right, but you just have to be the number 2, which, if you don't remember, 2016 in Cleveland, he's the number 2 to LeBron James. And what do? They win a championship. They win a title. And that is so key, I think, for Dallas, is to say Luka's the 1, and then Kyrie Irving's the 2, and everybody else, find your moments. Dallas is not going to be perfect again. They have their own holes, right? Their bench depth, I'm a little bit questionable on. I don't think they necessarily have the best big men who can guard against some of the other guys that are going to be out there. Of course, I like Daniel Gafford as much as the next person. I never thought the Bulls should have got rid of him, okay? But I don't, and I like P.J. Washington too. I like P.J. Washington as well. But I don't think either one of them could match up very well against a guy like Jokic, right? I don't think that's going to work out very well. I also don't know if they're going to match up very well against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, I mean, that's going to be the better of the two, but I feel like they go up against the Nuggets. I feel like the Nuggets are going to win that series. I don't know if, excuse me, I don't know if Luka, I don't know if they're going to be able to match up well with them. Luka's going to do everything he can, of course, but I look at the Thunder, and they're a young squad. They're super young. The fact that they were able to get a game in this, I'm impressed with. I think they can actually tie the series. They're young enough. I actually think they may win this game, even though it's in Dallas, and I know that's going to be a tough one for them to win, obviously. This is not going to be an easy game for them, of course. But they're young enough. They're fast enough. They can run with them. I think there is enough there for the Oklahoma City Thunder to be able to maybe outrun the Dallas Mavericks here in this game. But after this game, this is where the Mavericks say, okay, we're turning on the guns. We're going full power, right? We're going with the cannons. We're going shot for shot. We're going to take you to the rim, power through you, and we're going to slam it in your face. I understand that the Thunder could possibly upset, and they very much could, right? They are the new Denver Nuggets from back in the day when they had that whole COVID playoff situation, right? Where the Nuggets were young, but they were upsetting teams left and right, and they were playing fantastic. And we knew Jokic was good. We knew Murray was good. Porter Jr. was good. But we didn't really see them in full action until right then and there. I like the Thunder a lot. I just think they're super young, and they're small. They've got the energy, the stamina, the speed, the everything. I just think they're small and inexperienced. And I'm sorry, in the playoffs, size and experience and defense count for something. Now, they play great defense. I think, or the Thunder play absolutely great defense. But again, this is Luka. This is Kyrie. You get these guys in one-on-one situations, they can beat you. You get those mismatches, they're going to kill you. And it's kind of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander plus a bunch of young kids, and he's trying his best as a young guy himself, trying to lead the way. He's doing a good job. I don't think they're going to have that ability to step up. I don't see that happening. So I will take the Thunder in this game, but overall in the series, I think it's Mavericks in 6. Maybe the Thunder can push it to 7. Maybe they can. But I think the Mavericks can take it in 6. That's where I'll stand on that one. So, yeah, I'm going to say Celtics take this game away from the Cavaliers. I think the Thunder maybe surprise them on this game and possibly run away with it a little bit on this one. If you're a betting person, if you want to take it, Boston, I think, can hit the 8.5. I think they can definitely blow that one out of the water for Dallas. The 1.5, I think they can certainly – I think the Thunder can kind of come out a little bit more on top on that one. So I think they can do better than plus 1.5 towards them. Totals, meanwhile, for both of these teams, I think it can definitely hit the over. I definitely think it can hit the over for both of them. They're pretty solid scoring teams, I would have to say. I think they can both see scoring. I like Jason Tatum and Donovan Mitchell can go on a scoring prowess, and then you've got the Thunder and the Mavericks. Luka and Shai could just go shot for shot with Kyrie Irving for sure. But, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for the NBA. Obviously, let us know what you think about these playoff series. Who do you think is going to win? How do you think it's going to come out? What's your Eastern and Western Conference Finals looking like? And what's your NBA Finals looking like? We want to hear from you guys. Comment on the Twitch, comment on the YouTube. Let us know down below in the comments section. We want to hear from you guys. Obviously, send us any questions or comments like that to xvsportsofficial@gmail.com or at xbomsports on Twitter and on Instagram. When we come back, though, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to break down these baseball standings because, yes, baseball has been happening. We haven't had a chance to really talk about it outside of the big scandals, but where do these teams stand as far as the playoff positions go in the early stages of the season? We're going to talk about that next here on the X-Bomb Sports Live Show.
Hey, watch your mouth.
Wine. I'll just put a quarter in the swear jar. Once it's filled, we get a Coors party after work.
I've been drinking Coors since my college days. The cold draft taste is second to none.
Yeah, worth every quarter, am I right?
You know it, mother.
Hey, you get those reports done?
Yeah.
No. You, sir.
Attention, employees.
The staff meeting, scheduled for this evening, will now be held tomorrow early as
That is all. Dudes, we're only 75 cents short. Oh, shh. Where's the boss?
Hey, sir. Go yourself.
Fired!
Welcome back, everybody, here to the X-Bomb Sports live show. I'm still Andrew Valentin, and I hope you all enjoyed that first part. We just talked about the NBA playoffs, the matchups that are going on there. Again, let us know, ladies and gentlemen, what do you think about the matchups? What do you think the finals is going to look like? We want to hear from you guys on that as well. But away from the NBA court, we have to go to the baseball diamond here, folks. That's right, Major League Baseball. We're finally talking about it. I know it's been a hot minute, but let's get into this, shall we? So for the seasons, yes, we're going to look at the 2024 MLB standings. Now, as you guys know, I'm sure, we look at this stuff on a regular basis as much as we can throughout the season. We are, well, about 40 games into it, close to it, so I figured it was about time to start pouring into the season, kind of seeing where everybody stands right now, kind of go over the situation with baseball, and we'll see exactly where everybody's at in terms of their current standings for potential playoffs and all that kind of stuff. Again, I know it's the early parts of the season, but what better ways to do it, ladies and gentlemen? Major League Baseball, this is where it's at, folks. This is where we want it to be. So without further ado, let's start talking about it. So we're going to break down each league, as we know, the American League and the National League, and we'll talk about the top teams right now at the very tip top that have the winning records. A few that are at the bottom obviously won't be listed, but we will have that discussion. So let's start it off with the American League standings, shall we? So, to kick this one off, as it stands right now, or as it stood the last time we checked, we have at the very top, in descending order, we have the Baltimore Orioles, we have the New York Yankees, the Cleveland Guardians, the Minnesota Twins, Kansas City Royals, Seattle Mariners. Then we have the Boston Red Sox, and last but not least, we have the Texas Rangers in that order. Now, obviously, that's at the very top. I will say this. I mean, as far as best teams go, yes, Baltimore right now, I think, is one of the best teams in baseball. That collectively, they're just a great team. They're just a great team who I think have the young guns, the strength and stamina that they can get through the season, that they're going to be able to kind of not cruise into the playoffs, but they'll be able to, I think, to stay on top of the division for the most part. Might swap a little bit with the Yankees because the Yankees have been pretty good this year so far, but I would still say Baltimore right now is one of my favorites. I mean, they're going tit for tat right now as far as battling out for that number one spot in their division and within the American League itself as well. Both teams have power hitters. Both teams have pitching as well. They have enough guys on their team that can provide that star power, that bravado. It's just when I look at Baltimore versus the Yankees, Baltimore, I feel like, is designed to be able to go the full 162-game season with minor injuries being along the way, whereas the Yankees have a lot more older players on their team, it feels like, and well, it's also true too, who feel like they're just going to be guys that could fall into rapid dissension towards the end of the season, right? I mean, which is really, I would say, like the last 60 games of the season is so important for baseball teams, especially if you're in a playoff position. You want to be able to make that push. The Yankees, I think, will be in fine position as long as they have a good, August into September kind of situation. But it's right there at the very end, or not August into September, but like July into August kind of situation. It's when they get into September that's going to be like the dog days of like, okay, we have to power through whatever we've got going on. Injuries have to be settled. Guys got to get healed up. We have to be ready for playoffs because you get guys that go down with major injuries along the way for the season and they're out for the year, you're going to see a drastic drop-off from the Yankees for sure. Now, the rest of these teams, Cleveland, Minnesota, Kansas City, I'm surprised they've all caught fire the way they did. Again, Kansas City's a young team. Cleveland's kind of fluctuating in some younger guys as well. Minnesota is just staying consistently there. They're just always consistently kind of just there, right? But this is also at the early parts of the season. At the back end of this thing, it could be a complete and different story, right? Once you've got some film on these guys, once you've gotten a chance to see them more, now you can kind of start picking them apart. How do we pitch to this guy? How do we hit on this guy? How do we approach this setup? How do we approach this lineup? It's all that kind of stuff. So I think for all three of these teams, you'll see them change out. Out of these three teams in the Central, I would say I think right now the Guardians have the most experience. They have the most talent. The Twins do too, but I like the Guardians as much as I can say. Other than that, I got to say the rest, Seattle, Boston, Texas. I know Texas just won the World Series, but they don't feel like the same team. I don't know what to think about for Seattle. I think they're still in those early stages of figuring out who they are. Boston, they got Devers, and they've got a bunch of other guys that I think they can really float on and use, but I don't know if they necessarily have enough players to make a full impact into saying, oh, we're not only going to make the wild card, we're also going to be able to do some damage. I don't think so. I don't think they're going to have that. I think they may actually get approached to possibly do some trading, if anything. But I could be wrong. I mean, listen, I'm not perfect on any of this stuff. Obviously, this is all playing the guessing game. When it comes to these teams that are more towards the middle of the league, especially for this conference, I don't have a lot of assurances to say that they're going to be studs. It feels like they're going to be a lot of mediocre, middle of the road, 500, just above 500, maybe make the playoffs, maybe just miss the playoffs. There's a lot of competing for that middle ground that's going to be there. And I don't even know what to say for the bottom half of this. I mean, maybe Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, I think, is just kind of hitting the skids a little bit. Detroit, I think, is just kind of hitting that middle of the road where it's like, hey, some of the young guys are starting to produce. Some of the vets we've brought in are starting to do something other than Javi. Javi's been terrible. On the back end, my Blue Jays are not doing great, but they're doing better than the White Sox, the team that I used to root for, who are at the bottom of the league right now. So I'm still rooting for the Blue Jays. I know they might be bad this year, but at least they have some players I can root for, and I feel like at least if anything, they can potentially come back and possibly still be a threat within their division. It's just going to be tough. And within the conference, I think they could still make a wild card. I just don't know if they're going to be challenging for a championship like they were hoping to. But yeah, the bottom of this thing, the one that's interesting is Houston because you would think they'd still be competitive, but no, they had to send Jose Abreu down because he just can't hit anymore. They're terrible. They're looking bad. So, American League right now looking very, very iffy at this point. But let us go to the next league. Let us go to the National League and discuss all of the things that the National League have going for themselves, which I got to say, they got a bright light. They got some bright lights going for themselves right now. In order, as we look at it, we've got Philadelphia, in order, Philadelphia, Phillies, Los Angeles Dodgers, Atlanta Braves. You've got the Milwaukee Brewers, I almost said Bucks, the Chicago Cubs, the San Diego Padres, the New York Mets, and then the Washington Nationals. Now, not every team that's on this list, I think, is good. The Mets, I don't think are as good as what the record even says. I think they might actually still be worse. They are all money, no chemistry, no talent. I think Cohen, if I'm correct, the new owner. I think he just wanted to buy a bunch of guys that look like brand name players for big money, spend a dime, and he thought that this was going to work. Now, they already blew it up last year. They're trying to revamp it this year. They don't really have, I think, the guys to be able to do it, so I wouldn't be depending on the Mets to do anything unless somehow someone starts to emerge from that group. The Nationals are interesting. They're still trying to figure out, though, what their future is going to look like because they've got their franchise guy, I think, in Dylan Cruz. They just have to figure out how do we get him more into the game and how do we get more players around him that are going to complement him. I'm not saying he's Bryce Harper. I don't think he's Bryce Harper. But I think the guy is good enough that he can make an impact for your baseball team sooner than later. He can at least be your star that you can hold up and say, hey, come and join us, come be a part of us, let's have some fun. I like that. But outside of that, the Padres are suffering, I think, just primarily because of the fact that they've relied so much on star power at this point that I can't say that the Padres, I think, can necessarily make that playoff push like I think they were hoping to. Dylan Cease is a fine grab. They needed a pitcher. They needed somebody that can be consistent for sure. But I don't know if they have enough firepower in their bullpen to be able to help complement their starters, nor do I think they have all the bats they actually need to be able to power through what's probably going to be a pretty strong fight for a chance to be that number one team at this top, right? Because right now, I would say Cubs and Brewers right now are fighting for that number one spot right now in the NL Central, and both have a great chance to be able to claim it. I still think maybe the Brewers have enough that they can keep it for the time being, but the Cubs have enough young, youthful, chemistry-built stardom, whatever you want to call it, that I think through defense, through smart pitching, and through getting guys on base and moving them around the bases, obviously all basic baseball stuff, but you don't need to hit every home run. I think you can get guys on base, score the base pass, use your speed, use your agility, use your defense to your advantage. I think the Cubs could win the division, go to the playoffs, and maybe be pretty competitive. I don't think they're winning a World Series, but they're at least, I think, on the road to being good enough where you could say maybe in a 3-4 year stretch, they're competing for a chance to win that trophy again. But on top of that right now, it's Atlanta, it's the Braves, the Dodgers, and the Phillies right now that have the set teams that are going to be competitive enough to win a title. They just feel like they're good enough. They feel like they have enough stardom, they have the arms, they have the bats, they have the bullpen, they even have the depth, right? They even have the farm system that they can still go to and actually pull some guys out and I think get some decent players, some good at-bats and some good innings from every once in a while. As far as who's the best of the bunch, I want to say it's the Dodgers, but again, they've floated so much money between all of those players. It's like, well, you're using the money and not really caring about the stardom. I want to say the Dodgers come out on this on top. There's something inside of me that says, though, Atlanta's going to find a way to do it because team chemistry, a championship team that has a roster that I think that can compete. I like the Phillies right now, yeah, sure, but I mean, again, talk to me when we're in the August-September month for the Dodgers and the Phillies. I think that's when Atlanta will start to pop off. I like Ronald Acuna. I know that having Strider is going to hurt them, but I don't think they're really losing too much of a stride, to be quite honest. That's a pun for you. I like the position that's at, though. The National League right now is the fun one to watch because there's competition there at those top 5 teams. And even with the Padres, I'll throw the Padres in there as well. At the bottom of this thing, though, it's kind of concerning, right? I thought the Reds would be far more competitive. I'm a little surprised the Pirates are a little bit better than what I thought they were going to be, but I still think they're young enough and they're good enough and decent enough that they'll be able to pick something up. Paul Skeens looks like he's going to be a phenomenon. He looks like that Steven Strasburg kid that's going to come in, throw fire, and it's not even just his fastball. It's his breaking balls. He's got like 8 different pitches. He's big, physical. You know, the guy's living the life of luxury. Plus, his girlfriend happens to be the highest paid female in all of college sports. She makes like $3 million off her NIL deals. And she's probably going to be on the Olympic gymnastics team. Or she's going to try out, I'm assuming. Like, I mean, the guy's living the life of luxury. And he's pitching with the Pirates. I think they're going to be a lot better by the end of it. Arizona, I think they'll have their setback. They made the World Series, but I didn't think they were really a World Series team. I think they're good. I just don't think they're great. I don't think they're going to be able to make it again. San Francisco, I never count San Francisco out. The Giants are always very good. They always find a way to be pretty consistent. This might be their down period, but I think they still have enough on their roster as far as pitchers go that they can still find a way to get it done through their defense, if anything. The rest of these guys, though, Rockies need to revamp. They may need to tear down. Miami never should have got rid of their president of baseball operations. That was the worst thing they ever could have done. They blew that thing up for no reason whatsoever, and that's probably because the culture's terrible there. And I'm sorry, St. Louis, you got to fire Marmol. You got to fire that dude. He is a terrible manager. That guy has no idea what he's doing. And listen, you thrusted a dude in there that I think was unprepared for the situation at hand. He cannot handle being a manager at the major league level, and it's showing. It's showing big time. They're in trouble. They're in major trouble. I don't know. Those teams at the very bottom of the NL, the Cardinals, the Rockies, and the Marlins, I don't know how they continue to go this way. I'd fire your managers right now. I'd start moving off of pieces post-haste. Do it. Go. Get rid of them. This is those three. It feels like you need to tear down and start over. Let Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt looks terrible. Let Arenado go. Let him go do his own thing elsewhere. Chris Bryant is he's just a bag of injuries at this point. And I don't even know what to say for the Marlins. I do like the fact, though, that somebody said, well, the reason the Miami's obviously bad is once you signed Tim Anderson, where'd you think the team was going to go? Yeah, that's fair enough. I don't think the team's ever going to be that good anyways. Not for a while. You were in a position. You were in a position, and then once you let go of your president of baseball operations, everything falls into the tank. I don't understand it. I don't. I'm not a manager. I've never been in that position. I'm not a GM. Never done that stuff. So, what do I know? But man, where I'm standing right now, I'd clean house and start all over again. Try again. Hit the reset button. Baseball's in a great position right now, I would say. The games are going by pretty quick. There's a lot of people going to the games now, a lot of viewership, at least for the teams that are good. I'm intrigued to see where baseball goes. I'm going to try to get to some games if I can. White Sox tickets are only like $5, so they're pretty cheap. And apparently, according to my guy Tyler, who, by the way, happy birthday to my boy Tyler Buterball. Glad he had a fun time at the Cubs games. Apparently, you can get some pretty good seats for some cheap tickets. Well, cheap-ish, but yeah, we might be able to get to some Cubs games and watch some baseball, get into some good sun. I definitely could use some sun. I need to get my tan back. I'm way too pale. I'm starting to reflect light back. That's how bad these things are getting, folks. But obviously, let us know what you think about the baseball season. What are your thoughts about the standings right now? Do you think these are going to be significant changes? Do you think anybody at the bottom is going to rise to the top? Are we going to see any surprises that potentially could fall into the playoff situation? We want to hear from you guys as well on YouTube, on Twitch. Comment down below. Let us know what you guys think. Of course, when we come back, folks, we're going to keep doing your fan questions. That's right. You've asked, we're going to answer. It's the X-Bomb fan questions section that's coming up next here on the X-Bomb Sports Live Show.
The Chicagoland area has a large number of lonely dogs currently filling shelter pens, just waiting to find a family. Nothing adds warmth to a home like a wagging tail and a warm pair of brown eyes. If you are considering adding a dog to your household, visit the Anderson Animal Shelter, where adoption counselors can assist you in selecting your new best friend. Make your house a home. Adopt a shelter dog. To see a current list of adoptees, visit their website at www.andersonanimalshelter.org or meet them in person at 1000 South LaFox Street in South Elgin. Don't have room in the home for a new furry family member? Donations of toys, collars, and soft or hard non-perishable dog food are always accepted and are greatly appreciated. All animals are spayed or neutered and are waiting with tails wagging to find a loving home. Visit 1000 South LaFox Street in South Elgin or www.andersonanimalshelter.org for more details.
Ah,
Hey, watch your mouth.
wine. I'll just put a quarter in the swear jar. Once it's filled, we get a Coors party after work.
I've been drinking Coors since my college days. The cold draft taste is second to none.
Yeah, worth the recorder, am I right?
You know it, mother.
Hey, you get those reports done?
Yeah. No. You, sir.
Attention, employees.
The staff meeting, scheduled for this evening, will now be held tomorrow early as
Who's all? Dudes, we're only 75 cents short. Oh, shh. The boss.
Hey, sir. Go yourself.
Fired!
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, here to the X-Bomb Sports Live Show. We appreciate you guys sticking around. We have just talked about the NBA playoffs. We've also talked about Major League Baseball and where they stand right now with the standings on them for the season. But, ladies and gentlemen, it is time now to answer your questions. That's right. It is X-Bomb fan questions time. And, of course, any questions, any comments, anything you have for us, sports-related or not sports-related, you can send it to us at xpsportsofficial@gmail.com. We want to hear from you guys on that stuff. As always, I hope that didn't get caught on the microphone. That came out of nowhere. Jeez, I'm listen. If I kick the bucket right now, then obviously I've done my job. So sorry. Well, you can't smell it like I can. Sorry. Yes, if you have any questions, again, send it xpsportsofficial@gmail.com. It's a coffee, I promise. All right, let's get into some of these questions. I have some sports questions, and then we'll get into a more personal question, I guess, more than anything. So, first question I'll answer these two relatively quickly as quick as I can. First question, this came from our guy, Daryl, not Darrell, Daryl. He made sure to note that. Not Daryl I know, but Daryl is actually from, he's from Oregon. Okay. He's from out there in Corvallis, Oregon. He said, I'm an LA kid by nature. I'm out here in Corvallis. Go Oregon State. Yeah, go Beavers. He has the question, though. He said, what are your thoughts on why it's so hard to get the right NBA coach? Because I'm a Lakers fan. And obviously, when you think about what's happened with Frank Vogel and with now Darvin Ham both being fired, do you think it's really that hard to get the right coach in the NBA, or is it just hard for the Lakers in general? So here's what I'm going to say about the Lakers situation. From what I understand, Darvin Ham was a very lax guy. I think I'm saying that right? Lax or laxed? I don't know exactly how to say that. He's very down to earth, right? He's very chill. It's not a bad thing. He's a former NBA player. He's been an assistant coach for a long time. There was a lot of people that were pushing for him to be a head coach for quite a while. And I was one of those people that were kind of like, I think he's got the skill. I think he's got the maturity, the mentorship, the ability to do the job. And I was like, yeah, this is a guy who could be a head coach in the league. I also said the same thing about Adrian Griffin, who got fired from the Bucks, right? But then again, Adrian Griffin had the Milwaukee Bucks at 37-13 before he got fired. And then he got fired, and they brought in Doc Rivers, the more experienced coach, and Doc Rivers pretty much took the team down, it feels like more than anything. Darvin Ham, though, from what I understand, he just doesn't do a lot of studying. That's just not his thing. And I'm sorry, when you're on the Lakers, when you're the head coach of the Lakers and you're with LeBron James, who is one of the biggest studiers in the league, you kind of need to study to match your star, right? Like to at least do a little bit of the minimum work. Work with your star to break down tape. LeBron, for everything we give him crap for everything we talk about for him, he is one of the most studious guys in the game. You don't become the best without that ability to watch tape, break things down, understand why the ball is bouncing this way, why they're setting up the screen there, why they're trying to run off ball here while there's another guy at the. He wants all that information. He seeks that stuff. Like he's invested in that stuff tremendously. From what I understand, Darvin Ham doesn't do that. And so when your star and your coach don't exactly get along on that level, plus from what I understand, Darvin Ham really didn't get along with a lot of the team. The only guy he really got along with, D'Angelo Russell, who from what we understand via reports, not exactly the most liked teammate. Very much a me guy. I like being the star. I like being the guy. Me. Well, I don't know about anybody else out there. I'm not a big fan of me's. I mean, I've been a me guy, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with having an ego. You could say I'm the best. But apparently D'Angelo Russell is just, it's like way too much. It's way gone. So I don't think it's hard to find the right NBA coach. I think when it comes down to it, what really hurts this thing more than ever for the Lakers is that you're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, right? And you just didn't, you're blindly doing that. Like you didn't even look first. You're just kind of like, there. And you're just like, it fits. And it's like, no, that's not how that goes. Right? Frank Vogel, by the way, the reason why it worked with the Lakers, he's very studious to the point where sometimes he's almost over-prepared. And that was the problem like in Phoenix, right? Kevin Durant doesn't watch film. He doesn't do any of that stuff, from what I understand. Or he does the minimal amount. Frank Vogel is like, statistics, analytics, let's break it down. Let's look at everything. Again, two guys that don't fit together. I don't think it's hard to find the right coach for your NBA team. You just need to know what your team is and then find the coach that you want to fit it. Or you find the coach and then you find the players to fit his team. Sometimes, yes, you got to go a little bit out of the box, but you got to find a way to be able to say, can these guys make it work? Figure it out. That's what makes good GMs. That's what makes good managers. That's what makes good front office people. Find the right guy with the right star, and do they fit together? Yes, it's like a hand in a glove. Perfect. But these were two situations, Phoenix and Los Angeles, where you're trying to fit square into a triangle and circle into rectangle. Just not going to happen. It's not going to work. Appreciate the question, Darrell. So our next question, this comes from Janice. Janice is from Chicago. She asked us the question. She's like, I was a big avid follower of Justin Fields, but I wanted to get your opinion on this because obviously all the rumors that we've heard about Justin Fields, what are your thoughts? Do you think he's actually the right quarterback? Dare I say, is it fair to say that you were potentially right about Justin Fields? I know I hate saying that because I was such an avid, and I'm sorry about the email I sent you. Don't worry about it, Janice. I get it. Everybody was very defensive about this. I don't blame you for yelling at me through an email. A lot of people did. Look, I don't want to claim I was right, but I think that we're on the level of saying that he's not the star quarterback. For those who don't know, the Steelers' Jalen Ward, the running back, has said that they've had discussions apparently about Justin Fields, the quarterback, former quarterback of the Bears, now at the Steelers, of him playing punt and kick returner. Basically, at the start of a game, he's the guy that's going to take the ball back on the kick return or on the punt return when it's fourth down. Is he the first to do that? No. Joe Theismann did that. In fact, Cordell Stewart of the Steelers did that. But Cordell Stewart never became a great quarterback because of the problem that he had, which was he was such a fantastic athlete and a great weapon that he never was able to become a great quarterback. He played quarterback for 1 year on a decent level, and the rest of his career was just kind of shot because he was playing running back, he was playing wide receiver, he was playing kick returner, punt returner. He was doing all these different things and yet never flourishing at being able to play the position they drafted him to be. And when they finally did ask him to do that, he was never able to grow properly into that position, so it hurt him. He even says that. It tainted the quarterback position for him in a way. So Is this some sort of validation on Justin Fields? No, I think it's though one of the flags that comes up. What's like, look, you could say it's all rumors and stuff, but I've said this: when a player from the team starts talking about it, more than likely, often than not, it's very true. It's very, very true. Add on top of that they declined his 5th-year option on his contract, along with Najee Harris. And you got this giant question mark on, okay, you got 1 year with Russell Wilson, and then you have to pay Justin Fields to be your starting quarterback, and you got to pay Najee Harris his money too. What's the plan going forward for the Steelers? This is where I don't know if Pittsburgh's going to be a good team by the end of this season. This season, I think they could be a good team, make the playoffs, have a winning record. Next year, I think this could be next year could be Mike Tomlin's first year actually losing. Backup quarterback, supposedly the next guy up after Russell Wilson leaves, is not on a 5th-year deal. You're going to have to pay him $50 million or franchise tag him for about $50 million. Then you got a running back who's going to get franchise tagged either for $30 million or you're going to have to pay him a bundle of money. So you have to figure out how that situation is going to play out. Plus, you've got a defense that you're paying a lot of money to. Plus, it's going to put you over the salary cap, so you're going to have to let some guys go or renegotiate their contracts out. And how many guys are going to be willing to do? Do you see what the problem is there for the Steelers? Do you see what the problem is there for Pittsburgh? Like, this isn't just a Justin Fields issue. This is a Pittsburgh Steelers may not be a good football team issue for after this season. They may actually go into the toilet after this year. This year, I could see them make the playoffs. I could even see them win a playoff game. After that, it could be a dumpster fire, an absolute dumpster fire. Oh, it's Pittsburgh. They'll fix themselves. I don't believe that. This could be the end of this great dynasty of Mike Tomlin to the point where he may even say, I'm done. I'm retiring. Like, I've had enough. Was I right about Justin Fields? No, I wasn't right because he's still in the NFL and he's still playing, and I still think he's a good player. But I do think there's enough warning signs in front of us now to say that maybe even the Pittsburgh Steelers don't believe he's a franchise quarterback or even the quarterback of the future. You don't decline a 5th-year option that would have only been $25 million and then say, we're going to pay this guy $45 million a year, which is probably what he's going to ask for. And you can fight with his agents to say, no, you don't. Well, Daniel Jones got paid $40 million a year. How about that? You think he's as bad as Daniel Jones? I would say he's better, but not by much. Food for thought. I'm not saying he's bad. I'm not saying he can't be the answer. I don't think he will be the answer. I will say that. But that doesn't necessarily mean he can't prove me wrong. I just don't know. So, Janice, I understand. I know that you were a Justin Fields supporter. Look, a lot of people want that kid to do well. I want him to do well. But after his first year, and after his first year with the Bears, even though, yeah, he was not the starter originally, I'm just not convinced that he was worthy of the draft pick that the Bears traded up to get. I think they got the better quarterback now. I like Caleb Williams a lot. I think he's an NFL quarterback. I don't think that Justin Fields is an NFL quarterback. He might be better for the UFL or the Canadian Football League. Take a couple years there, get some really good stuff going, and then, hey, go to the NFL. Try it again. It's food for thought. Again, just consider what I'm saying. I'm not saying he's bad. I'm not saying he can't be the answer. But from where I'm standing right now, he's nobody's answer to anything at quarterback. Final question. This comes from our guy. He wanted to go by a nickname, Ducky. I don't know. All right, Ducky. Ducky's from Detroit, Michigan. Of course. Said, first things first, I heard about what you guys said about Detroit, Michigan. You know, Detroit's a really great place, and then in parentheses he has, it's really not. I love Detroit. Don't get me wrong. It's just, yeah, there's a lot. It's rough. Let's just say it's a little bit rough, but it's still a great city. He said, I just want to know from you guys' perspective. He said, you guys seem to love to laugh, so I wanted to know, do you guys have any favorite comedians, and do you have a least favorite comedian or comedians that you guys love to watch and love to listen to? So, obviously, the boys aren't here and everything, but I can't give their answer. But from my perspective, like, my favorite comedians right now have been guys like Bill Burr. I like Dave Chappelle. Gabriel Iglesias, always a funny guy, mostly because that's what everybody compares me to. I don't think we look alike necessarily, but I get it. Um, I've liked past comedians. George Lopez, I always thought was very funny. Old school comedian Richard Pryor, I think he's the god comedian. I think he's the greatest comedian. I think he's the GOAT comedian, the greatest comedian of all time. I don't think anybody's ever going to top him. I mean, this is a guy who got severely burned during a fire, right? Yeah, on his body. Came back and did a stand-up special about him being on fire, made a joke out of it. Like, I don't know how you top that, honestly. I mean, there's a lot of comedians that I like. Like, it's more or less, I like look some of the smaller comedians you can find out there every once in a while. I forgot this kid's name. His name is, I think it's Bond, I think is his last name. He wears, like, big, round, like, Harry Potter glasses kind of thing. I think he does stand-up more in New York. He's a very funny comedian. It's not James Bond, I know that, but it's something. Like, I think he's hilarious. Tony, do you got any comedians that you enjoy? Matt Rife is good. I didn't like his special, though, I will say that. And Chris Rock's always good. Yeah, oh, that's the other one. Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart's always funny. Yeah, Matt Rife. I'm okay with Matt Rife. I didn't like his special, and not because of the whole controversial thing he said. Like, I didn't think it was that funny of a joke, and that was the only thing for me. I mean, as far as least favorite comedians, I'm not a real big Louis C.K. fan. I think he's a good writer. I just don't think I don't think he's a good comedian, for me at least. I don't find his stuff very funny. Who is, what's his name? Chris, not D'Angelo. What's his name? D'Elia, right? Yeah, Chris D'Elia is he's one of, if you look up his name, he's been like accused of whatever you want to call it, like sexual abuse of a minor or something like that, like really nasty, disgusting stuff. It's all, I guess, like hearsay, rumor as of this point right now. I think, or something like that. I saw his first special and he couldn't get the first joke out in like 10 minutes. Like it took him forever to get there. But I don't know. I like guys like Theo Vaughn. I think Theo Vaughn's pretty funny. I'm trying to think. You know what? What's his name? Bert Kreischer, the guy who takes his shirt off. I don't know if I'm sure a lot of people know him. I don't know if you know him, Antonia. He's a guy who takes his shirt off during his, comedy stand-up. I used to like him at the beginning, but the whole taking the shirt off bit has just kind of gotten old for me, and a lot of his jokes just like don't really hit for me anymore like they used to. He's most famously known for doing a joke where he was in Russia and he is about, like, I am the machine, which apparently they made a movie based off of, which looks like garbage. I haven't watched it. I'm not planning on watching it. I mean, good for him. He's made a lot of money, but Bert Kreischer, not a guy for me anymore. And there's a lot of comedians out there. There was one guy out there. He's no longer alive, but Mitch Hedberg. And Stephen Wright. They were the one-liner, give the joke, and then move on to the next joke kind of guy. They're just one-liner guys that I thought were really funny. So I have a litany of... comedy has always been a big part of my life, like making fun and having fun and laughing. That's an essential part of my life, so I'm always looking for somebody that can do that for me and make me laugh. For me, though, it always, like, it's stupid little videos. Like, what was the last one I was watching? One that was it was a video of three men who run an Italian auto shop, and they were arguing about pizza. It's a minute long, and it's the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, I was crying laughing before work watching this thing, and then I showed my teammates from my work, and they were all dying laughing. It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen, and obviously it's reality TV, but I think that sometimes that can be some of the most comical stuff. Although I will say this, if you're for the funniest video on the internet of all time, you can't beat polar bear It's the polar bear that keeps falling on the ice from the Minnesota Minnesota Automotive Company or whatever. That might be the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. Just people falling in general is just always funny. You can't. It's hard to beat that. So, but yeah, there you go for some of my favorite comedians. Least liked. It's hard to find least liked. It's just you got to be really bad at not making people laugh to make me like not like you. So, but that'll do it for the questions here, folks. Thank you so much for asking. We appreciate it, and that's going to do it for our show. So thank you all so much for watching and listening as always. If you guys want to check out any more of our stuff, of course, here it's on YouTube and on Twitch. That's youtube.com/xbombsports. It's also at twitch.tv/xbombsports as well, where we're going to be live streaming again every Monday. Definitely going to be shooting more for the 10:30 period. You know, today was just a little bit late because we were just filling in some stuff there. If you want to follow us anymore on some social media things, obviously we got YouTube and Twitch as well, yes, but we also have Twitter and Instagram if you guys want to keep up with us on that stuff as well, where we post all the show links and everything. You guys can find that stuff there. We'll also be updating on what we're doing with the show, things like that. So we're going to get more on the social media aspect of that stuff. And, of course, too, any questions or comments, anything you want to send us, please don't send us any more videos. I can't listen to the same song again. I can't do it. But if you want to send it, it's at xbsportsofficial@gmail.com. We love getting your questions, comments, emails. You guys are awesome. We appreciate it. If you want to follow me, if you want to see all the stupid things that I post, it's mostly food at this point, anything I'm cooking. You guys can follow me at TheFluffyGuru on Twitter, or I'm at Boom Crew Captain on Instagram as well. Twitter, I'm mostly just doing updates on the sports stuff, my takes, my opinions. Instagram, it's little points in my life, knowledge, whatever. It's mostly food. I've been cooking up a lot lately, so I've been pitching in and helping out my family by cooking up a storm, trying new things. Some of them work, some of them don't. But everybody eats the food, so I'm assuming everybody's happy. Nobody said they've been sick yet, so I call that a win. But you can follow me on there as well. Also, too, if you want to check out any more shows as well, we've got the wonderful show that you guys should be checking out. It is Tony Smalls x Big J, which, yes, last week we were not able to go live. People were busy. But this week we have the plan to go live. We may actually finish this Friday. We will see. We're playing Madison, they're playing Madison, I should say. And we're getting close to the end of this thing now. So we're going to see how this all pans out, how this whole thing goes. I'm intrigued to see how the ending comes out, because there are multiple endings to this game. So we may have to play through a couple more times to get the other endings. But, we'll see. But if you guys have any suggestions of anything you want to see them play, please let us know. Again, send us an email, comment down below. We want to hear from you guys on that stuff as well. Let us know what games you want to see them play, and I'll relay that message to them, and we can try and figure something out. We're trying to see if we can do some VR stuff as well, too, so be on the lookout for that potentially in the near future. Other than that, also Bad Karma Wrestling every Friday as well. 11:30 is the shoot time that we're usually going for. It's the boys talking about wrestling and everything wrestling oriented, be it WWE, AEW, Independent, New Japan, TNA, all the good stuff that we're looking for in the wrestling world and all the news that comes with it. You can find David Double D Dykstra and No Gimmicks Nick Johnson. They're doing their thing. Again, it's on Fridays, 11:30 p.m. Central Time. Be there or be square right here on XBomb Sports for Twitch and on YouTube as well. And I think that covers everything. I think that's done it all. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for listening. We will see you guys next week. You guys have a wonderful day. And as always, much love. Peace out, Boom Crew.